And we are live. Welcome to the program. Good to have you here, guys. I mean, what a weekend it was, right? Just a really tough, draining weekend. It was inspiring too. We're going to get into all that coverage. But first, we get a little bit of breaking news to get to. On the one hand, you get a little bit of rumblings going on there with Pam Bondi and the new girl in town. Yeah, Lindsey. Wait till you hear about her because Letitia, watch out. Letitia, watch out. This new one's coming in to get you. Her name is Lindsey Halligan, and she's willing to fight fire with fire. Meanwhile, we just got some breaking news as we came to air about both Fox and also another media story, Disney. First, I want to tell you that Fox is looking to buy TikTok as part of a group. They're going to get together with a few other like-minded people and buy TikTok. So TikTok could be saved, but what does that really mean in terms of conservative bias on TikTok, right? Like I'm all for conservatives, but does that mean Fox has too much influence? We'll talk about that. Meanwhile, this is news I can't wait to tell you about. Oh boy, they're bringing him back. So much for being a dictator, right? You know, Trump the dictator somehow couldn't even keep a crappy comedian off the air. That's why I'm like, guys, why do you keep saying that about him? I mean, there are FCC rules, and we're going to talk still a little bit about that because I don't think Disney's out of the hot seat. And you know who else is not out of the hot seat? One Bob Iger. No. You know, I'll tell you, if Jimmy finally does get fired when this is all said and done, it's because nobody wants Jimmy on the air, because nobody's watching Jimmy on the air, because Jimmy wants to do his show that's like the liberal version of Greg Gutfeld, which, by the way, you really shouldn't be doing on public airwaves. Here's Donald Trump talking about it just last night.
You know what suspended him? His talent. You know what else is really what? Take a look at this guy, his ratings. That's what got Jimmy Kimmel out. He was terrible.
Yeah, he was terrible, but somehow he's going to get to live another day. Bondi's a big deal. We got to talk about this because Donald Trump is turning the heat up on her. You know, we've been sitting around, we're waiting. She talks a good game, right? Don't get me wrong. And she looks good, great on camera, okay? But what did I say a while back? You know, remember Dan Bongino was like, I'm sick of this, man. She's not moving on anything. And it's either me or her. Well, that may actually be coming to a head. And of course, our friend Charlie Kirk, my poor friend Charlie Kirk. I mean, I knew him for many years. I was one of the first to put him on TV back at Fox. He was a regular on my show there. We were all devastated. He was laid to rest this weekend. And wow, did he know how to pick him, right? His wife, Erika Kirk, amazing. She is going to be an inspiration, truly, for women everywhere, for men as well. But I want you to hear her powerful moment of forgiveness before we get into the entire show. Here we go, guys.
That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
You may have seen this, but it's worth seeing again. She forgave him. What a trooper. By the way, Donald Trump saying, you know what? I don't forgive my enemies. I mean, Erika, she's amazing, right? And so is Charlie. But I'm digging in. And part of digging in, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment in time means not allowing for Pam Bondi to get off the hook. Not allowing Pam Bondi to take any time. Pam Bondi's got to get cracking here because he's like, where's the action on Letitia? Where's the action on Adam Schiff, the Shifty Schiff show? I mean, we're still waiting, right? And it's getting kind of annoying. I mean, I'm with him. We're with him, right? We're like, well, what's going on? Why has nothing happened? I mean, there are things that should be happening. And he's like, we can't delay this thing any longer. Pam, move it. I've said before, I no ill will to Pam. And I've been on TV with her over the years, and she's perfectly fine. But there's a difference between being on TV and actually running a legal operation, okay? And what you kind of need is somebody who's a really good executive. And then you need like a zillion Stephen Millers, I've always said, underneath you, running around doing this, that, and the other. And, so she's a spokesperson, but you got to be much, much more than a spokesperson. So is she up for the job? I think the verdict's still out. And by the way, don't take my word for it. Look at what Donald Trump said. Look at what he said last night. Here we go. It's like he released a private text he had sent to her, and I want to share it with you. Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time. All talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? Okay, well, what are they all doing? They're guilty as hell, he writes, but nothing is going to be done. Then we almost put in a Democrat-supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who was never going to be able to do the job. That's why two of the worst Democrat senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media and said he quit. And then we had no case. No, I fired him. He's talking about Eric, right, who didn't want to go forward with the prosecution, I guess, against Letitia James or Adam Schiff. And so he's like, no, I fired him. And there is a great case and many layers, and legal pundits say so. Lindsey is a really good lawyer, and she likes you a lot. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now in all capital letters, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, just in case you didn't get it the first time, President DJT. So he's laying down the law. He's like, okay, Pam, we're not going to sit around anymore. You got to actually get going. And I think that this has been the frustration, right, amongst all of us, because we're like, come on. We hear that she's doing this. We hear she's doing that. Okay, great. Look at the coordination that they were able to achieve, the Democrats, right on the other side. Look at how they went after him. They indicted him multiple times. And then they not just indicted him, they impeached him multiple times. And then they indicted him 5 times. So he's saying they get their act together. You don't, okay? Justice must be served. It must be served now. And so that's what he's asking for. He also went on to talk about how Lindsey was just going to be fantastic. Let me get to that in just a second, because he really likes the idea of bringing this Lindsey Halligan in. She's one of his former attorneys. Again, a pretty public scolding for Pam Bondi. I'm a little surprised by it. He did dial it back just a little bit. I think, it was kind of like, we're going to get this out there. The base, I understand you. I'm with you. Pam's got to get moving, and she can't get moving soon enough. But then he backtracked a little bit, and he still continued to praise her. So I want to at least mention that as well. Here he is saying, just moments after saying, Pam, come on, what's taking you so long? Pam Bondi is doing a great job as Attorney General of the United States. She is very careful, very smart, loves our country, but needs a tough prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia, like my recommendation, Lindsey Halligan, to get things moving. What we don't need is a Democrat-endorsed Republican. I will be nominating Lindsey Halligan to be the United States Attorney in this very important part of our great country. She will be fair, she will be smart, and will provide desperately needed justice for all. So do you guys know who Lindsey Halligan is? Okay, this is the U.S. prosecutor now. She's going to be the top U.S. prosecutor for the office. She's going to be probing Letitia James. She's one of Donald Trump's former attorneys, and he was very thankful for all the work that she did defending him after the Mar-a-Lago raid. In fact, he wrote about this, saying she did a great job because there was that unconstitutional non-American raid in my home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. As a partner at the biggest law firm in Florida, Lindsey proved herself to be a tremendous trial lawyer and later represented me and won in the disgraceful Democrats' documents hoax, as well as many other major high-profile cases. She is extremely intelligent, fearless, and working with Attorney General Pam Bondi, as well as Attorney General Todd Blanche. She has the strength and determination to be absolutely outstanding in this new and very important role. Congratulations, Lindsey. You will do great things for justice, Virginia, and the country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So really big deal here. He's basically laying down the law. This is the article in Politico saying we cannot delay any longer, and he's not wrong, all right? Like, time is of the essence. And by the way, he's the kind of person who wants everything done yesterday or like 2 weeks ago. So it's hard for him, I think, to sit there and be like, okay, great. Okay, we got all these mortgage allegations from the likes of our federal housing, director and Bill Pulte, and he turned all this stuff over to you, and like, what are we doing? And if you're not going to move on this, then maybe we need somebody who can. Now, the guy who was in there, Eric, he's describing as a rhino. He's saying he resigned. Donald Trump's like, no, I fired him because this guy definitely wasn't going to get the job done, and he wants somebody who can. So he's still, giving some room there for Pam. He's not firing Pam, but he's making it clear that Lindsey is pretty darn great in his estimation, and that Lindsey is going to be able to get stuff done, whereas maybe this other guy could not. So it's a big sort of shift and change. I think it's probably bad news for Letitia James, because Letitia, they're closing in on you. It's bad news for one Adam Schiff. They're closing in on you, Mr. Schiff. He's freaking out. Well, I'm sorry, but like, who has multiple mortgages, allegedly, all in primary residences? I mean, how can you have a primary residence in Maryland, when you are the congressperson from the state of California? Adam Schiff. I mean, I realize you get a lower mortgage rate for that, but that's actually not tolerated, and that's not acceptable. And if anything, members of Congress, should really be dotting their I's and crossing the T's. And you've got Letitia James trying to say, this is just a silly mistake. It was my power of attorney. Again, she's an attorney. Like, I'm just saying, she's the Attorney General of the state of New York. All the more reason, right, for her to be extra super careful and to make sure she's not making silly errors that would presume to allow for her to have a better mortgage rate. She was recently on, that fired woman from MSNBC that we don't really even like to talk about. Comcast is like, thank God we got rid of her. Now we just need to go for Rachel. Anyway, Joy Reid has a little podcast, and so she brings all her favorite friends on, one of which is Letitia James, and Letitia's like, no, he's just going after me because he's vindictive. Listen.
Donald Trump said that he said that he called me all kind of names, and he basically directed the Department of Justice to investigate my affairs. And they're using mortgage fraud as the vehicle upon which they're investigating myself, Adam Schiff, Miss Cook, Lisa Cook, and countless others. And it is, most of it, as you know, is frivolous. It's baseless, because in order to prove mortgage fraud, one has to prove intent. And that's a very high standard, a very high bar to meet.
Is it really? I mean, look at what you did, Letitia. Look at how you were like a rabid dog going after him. Too male, too pale, too stale. You made it your motive, your mission every day to do nothing but go after Donald Trump. You were proud of having filed some 100 lawsuits. I mean, you continue to file lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit because you want to take down Donald Trump. I mean, instead of actually doing something for the people. And by the way, look at what happened with the Court of Appeals. They threw your thing out there. Like, what the heck are you doing? I mean, you can't have this judge should be disbarred, by the way. The judge that came up with the nearly $500 million fine, he should just be bye, and never work again. She also ought to lose her law license over this, because these people are just political rabid animals instead of actually looking out for the people of New York. What she did was really and truly unthinkable. And so now that thing, she's appealing, again, tying up courts, tying up taxpayer dollars with nonsense after the appellate court said, this $500 million fine thing, that's not going to fly. That's just not going to fly. So you got a lot of sort of elements going on right now, but I think bottom line here is Donald Trump wants to make sure that, we move forward here. We got midterms coming up. You know how angry you are. I am. Like, we've all been saying the same thing. What's going on? Come on, Pam. We like you, but we're only going to give you so much rope. So get moving. Would you? And he's encouraging her, and he's got Lindsey. She's an attractive woman, is she not? Lindsey, waiting in the wings, ready to go right after Letitia. She's going to do her job as he grows increasingly impatient with one Pam Bondi. We'll see how this all shakes out, but I want to keep you up to speed on that because it's a pretty important story. The other thing we got going on at this moment in time is, wow, the Charlie Kirk, Jimmy Kimmel situation. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. Iger's in the hot seat. Iger's in the hot seat because Bob Iger runs Disney. He's bringing Jimmy back now. This just broke, okay? Moments ago, we found out that Jimmy Kimmel is going to come back onto his program tomorrow night. I wonder what he's going to do. Is he going to apologize? Maybe he should to Erika Kirk. She's a very nice person. She'll probably forgive him. Not sure I would. Not sure the president would. But I think it also kind of undercuts the whole Trump is a dictator argument. Trump is taking Jimmy Kimmel off the air. I mean, I don't think he's taking Jimmy Kimmel off the air. I think Jimmy Kimmel somehow managed to do that one to himself and then managed to also put his boss, Iger, in a very, very bad position. So now people are like, is Disney's Iger going to make it? I mean, he's already kind of up there in age, let's be realistic. And he's already had this job not once, but now twice. This is his second go around, and it's not going very well. He walked right into this. He started getting himself into the culture wars by pulling Jimmy off. I mean, maybe he just didn't have a choice because Sinclair, Nexstar, we're all simultaneously saying, we can't have this program on the air. People are so mad. They're so fragile. They're devastated. Charlie hasn't even been buried yet. And you got a guy misinforming them. This was just the wrong set of facts. Trying to tell people that somehow Tyler Robinson, who is the suspect that shot Charlie dead, they're actually looking at more suspects, and we'll talk about that coming up. But to actually say that he was a MAGA person, that was just wrong. That was really wrong. And at some point, you do have some responsibility. I want to go to Donald Trump talking about Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Kimmel's disaster of a show.
Would you don't like be grounds for losing a broadcast license?
Well, I think when a network is dishonest, certainly if they are dishonest because they give you 97% bad publicity or whatever it is, some ridiculous number, yeah, I would say that would be grounds.
Yeah. Well, here we go. I'm going to put this nice big headline there for you to see. Breaking news, Disney to bring Kimmel back, okay? Because apparently Bob Iger is worried about what this means for his reputation. I'll tell you, he's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't, right? I mean, it's because he couldn't control any of the situation to begin with. He's just a bad manager. I mean, look at The View. He's been begging those ladies to try and maybe, do a few cooking segments or something. Some entertainment stories. They're like, no, we're so good at politics. We're going to continue doing our politics. He's like, please. And instead of actually stepping in and saying, okay, we're going to actually renegotiate your contracts. We're going to fire you. We're going to do some other innovative stuff. He can't seem to manage them. So you get the inmates running the asylum. And so now it puts the manager himself, Bob Iger, in a really sticky position. He's the one who got himself into this. Look at the Washington Post headline. It says, how benching Kimmel landed Disney's Iger in the middle of culture wars. Industry observers say the CEO who oversaw Disney's rise to global dominance is caught between a rock and a hard place. I can tell you the stock's down about 1% right now. So it's not like investors are rejoicing this. Investors are looking at this and saying, okay, this may not be the right move here, bringing Jimmy Kimmel back. I mean, it may still be too fragile a time. Why are you doing this? Why is a good question. But here, I'm going to go back in time to why was Jimmy saying stuff like this on the air in the first place? I mean, after all, you get 40, 50, forgive me, what am I saying? He's got 200 producers. I can't even imagine that. I have two. I have two producers. That's it, okay? And we're putting a show on, and by the way, we had 185 million views on this channel last month on YouTube. I mean, is that not incredible? Oops, I'm getting so excited. I'm knocking the microphone over. I'll pat myself on the back. And my thanks to David, who was there at Charlie's funeral. Just devastating stuff yesterday. And my thanks to Sal, who I also work with, who helps to cut all this stuff and edit it and make sure that we send all these chapters and these shorts out to you. I mean, this is 3 people, okay? And somehow we're getting 185 million views. I don't think Kimmel's getting anything close to that. I mean, right? He's lucky to get 1 million a night. And there's 200 people working on the show, and he's charging 40 million or some crazy amount of money. I don't know how much he makes, but way too much. He's making way too much. So this is Iger's fault. Like, I'm sorry, but the buck stops with the CEO, and he's the one that's allowed this wokeness virus to fester. And now, like, everybody's mad at him. He's like, oh my gosh, like, what'd I do? John Oliver, why do you hate me now? This is the HBO comedian. He's blasting the Disney boss, saying Bob Iger is really a coward and will be remembered as a coward because he took Jimmy's show off the air. Again, I would just say if Bob Iger were a decent business person, we wouldn't be in this situation to begin with, because he would have made sure that among the 200 producers that worked on that show with Jimmy, there was like at least one that might have raised their hand and said, hey, you know what? Larry Tribe, you know, the fancy schmancy constitutional lawyer from Harvard, he actually got in a lot of trouble on Twitter when he tried to suggest that the kid that took out Charlie was somehow part of MAGA, because that has been discredited, badly discredited. But instead, you get 200 people that all think the same, right? And so they're only going to tell you what you want to hear. And consequently, you're left in a situation like Jimmy was, where you're out there spouting nonsense, and it catches the attention of Brandon Carr at the FCC, because you're on public airwaves. You shouldn't be doing this. If you had a good manager, if Bob Iger knew what the HELL he was doing, he wouldn't have to do sequel after sequel after sequel after sequel. He would not have people who don't bother to put any opposing viewpoints on television. I mean, frankly, it's boring. I put opposing viewpoints all the time here on this show. We watch these clips together because it's kind of fun, right? It gets my Irish up. We ought to see what the other side is saying. Here's Brandon Carr talking to my friend Benny Johnson about how Kimmel's conduct was pretty just damn sick.
You know, when you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are, avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. But I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you go back to Representative Swalwell, and he emphasizing that Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white male from a Republican family that voted for Donald Trump. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature, as you indicate, of one of the most significant, newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time. And what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. If that's what
so why would you do that? Why would you do that if you're Jimmy? Oh, I see. You're trying to rewrite history in real time. You think you're Wikipedia. Wikipedia does that all the time. I think they've taken every award I've ever won away from me on Wikipedia. That's fine. I can handle it. But you know what? Charlie doesn't deserve that. His legacy does not deserve that. His wife does not deserve that. His children do not deserve that. The MAGA movement does not deserve that. And so that was the wrong move, okay? And again, if you had decent managers and a decent CEO, they would be making sure that you had a more balanced production team so that you weren't just way off the reservation when it came to saying things that were untrue. And they were untrue. Here's Stelter on it.
Kimmel was expressing what we've heard some other liberals say in recent days, that the motives are unclear and that maybe the suspect in this case was a Republican or was some sort of far-right fringe figure.
Okay, so you see how the CNN guy, who's supposed to be their media reporter, is trying to justify what Kimmel was saying? There's no way you can justify that because, again, we're in the news business here, okay? And that was, I'm sorry, Jimmy, you may be a comedian, but you just can't actually say things that are so flat out wrong on FCC airwaves, publicly controlled airwaves. So he, by the way, Brian Stelter, otherwise known as Mr. Potato Head or Humpty Dumpty, I get them confused, I can't remember, but whatever it is, he's got quite a look going on. He's saying something that's actually really inaccurate and not right. But he can on CNN because you can lie all you want all day long over on those cable channels and not be held accountable. So he can say that. There was no question. By Monday night, we knew very well. So much so that Larry Tribe, again from Harvard University, is apologizing on Twitter. I can't believe I allowed myself to put out that incorrect information. I feel badly about it. He said, well, now Jimmy did it. And you got Brian Stelter making excuses because, that's what CNN does.
Of course, there has been a lot of discussion about that in recent days. There's a lot of evidence pointing in other directions about the suspect. But Kimmel was on the air talking about this, making a very serious commentary amid his jokes in his monologue Monday night. Here's where it became interesting earlier today. The FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, went on a far-right webcast and condemned Kimmel and urged...
Is it really far-right? Do you have to call it far-right? Whatever.
ABC to suspend him. He also talked about possible regulatory punishments of Disney because there are lots of different stations that have licenses with the FCC.
Okay, so in Brian Stelter's view, that is exactly then why Disney decided to pull the plug. But that's actually not really the case. What actually happened was all these people started calling their local channels, and that was a big deal. So then Nexstar got concerned and Sinclair got concerned, and they're like, this is too raw, this is wrong. We can't have him saying this at a time like that. It wasn't actually the White House, and I guess it was just kind of a coincidence, right? Like maybe it doesn't look great, but it's kind of a coincidence that, you get Brendan Carr out there on Benny's show saying what he said. But I would just remind you of this. The FCC does control those airwaves. And when it turns out you have only one conservative-leaning guest in an entire year on Jimmy Kimmel, and only one conservative-leaning guest in an entire year on The View, then you actually do have some real problems. And that's one where the FCC, should it choose to step in, absolutely has the power to do so, as Brendan Carr re-articulated on my friend Scott Jennings' show here. He's got a little radio show on Salem. Let's listen.
At NBC, just wondering, do you have comments on those shows, and are they doing what Kimmel did Monday night, and is it even worse on those programs, in your opinion?
Well, look, you can be unfunny. That's fine. And a lot of people are sort of saying that, well, people are punishing Kimmel because they don't like a joke that he told. But, we don't need to rehash it here. But obviously what he said was not a joke. It wasn't presented at all that way. But when you look at these other TV shows, what's interesting is the FCC does have a rule called the equal opportunity rule, which means, for instance, if you're in the run-up to an election, you have one partisan elected official on, you have to give equal time, equal opportunity to the opposing partisan politician. So far, so good. But there's an exception to that rule called the bona fide news exception, which means if you are a bona fide news program, you don't have to abide by the equal opportunity rule. And over the years, the FCC has developed a body of case law on that and has suggested that most of these late night shows, other than SNL, are bona fide news programs. And potentially, I would assume, you can make the argument that The View is a bona fide news show. But I'm not so sure about that. And I think it's worthwhile to have the FCC look into whether The View and some of these other programs that you have still qualify as bona fide news programs and therefore exempt from the equal opportunity regime that Congress has put in place.
Got about 30 seconds.
Yeah. So I would just say that the FCC has the upper hand on this one. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, just look at what The View has done. Again, we saw only one right-leaning guest. And then here's the information on Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel hosted just one right-leaning guest in past, it wasn't a year. It was 3 years. I mean, he went an entire 3 years with no one on the right. He had actor James Woods on at some point, apparently came with a whole bunch of strings attached. James Woods tweeting out on X about this today. I mean, for goodness sakes. And so they've had all these negotiations going on all weekend. And somehow Bob Iger thinks it's best for his own hide to bring Jimmy Kimmel back to the air. So Jimmy Kimmel will continue to do really poorly. He can't be in a situation where he only brings on one conservative guest. I mean, these guys over on The View, they had one conservative guest in a year. I don't know about 3 years, but Media Research Center reported they only have one conservative guest in an entire year. They have some conservatives on the show, but they're never Trumpers, so they don't really count, do they?
All of you. Talking about you, it's us. He's not going to, say, oh, you're with a white guy, I'm going to keep you from being deported. No, he's going to deport you and put the white guy with someone else. The man is out there.
He's also
Yeah, whatever. I was just going to change that lower third to say view under investigation. And again, breaking news, Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy's returning. Jimmy returns to ABC. Well, that'll be interesting to see what he says. The expectation is he ought to give some kind of apology, at least, right, to Erika Kirk and to Charlie's memory. It was kind of atrocious. And again, I would just remind him, he can do that show on MSNBC. He can't really do that kind of show on FCC Airwaves. I know this is a little inside baseball, but you know what? I've worked in network TV, I've worked in cable TV, and I now work here, hallelujah, in streaming where I don't have to answer to anyone. It's actually really, really great. But I would say this, Greg Gutfeld does a show that's very conservative on Fox. There's no reason that Jimmy couldn't do the same thing on MSNBC, especially now that MSNBC is being spun off into Versant before the end of the year so that they won't have anything to do with NBC proper, right? Comcast is like, man, get away, get away, get away. Anyway, here's Greg talking about the issue.
NBC yanked Jimmy Kimmel off the air. And now, as much as I'd like to take credit, his demise was caused by another one named Jimmy Kimmel. He's gone indefinitely, which is like saying Amelia Earhart's flight is delayed. Turns out you can't blindly lie to a million viewers and say Charlie Kirk's killer was MAGA, especially since the shooter appears to be a lefty, meaning he's more in line with Kimmel than Kirk. Perhaps that's why Kimmel said this.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Censorship? I don't think so. After all, you do have a right to be wrong, but your boss also has a right to suspend you when you deliberately do so. And Jimmy meant to mislead his viewers at the worst possible time to do it. And the FCC's job is to oversee the three networks, which are finite public goods, so it's a privilege and not a right. And he can always peddle his bile elsewhere.
He could, on cable. Or by the way, streaming, I'd welcome the competition right over here on YouTube. I'd see if anybody, he really is talentless. Do you know I watched an old episode of Entourage last night? It's kind of a raunchy show, actually. I don't think I ever realized it a zillion years ago when I first was watching it, but I was like, whoa, once you have kids, you listen to things differently. But anyway, I would just, he had like this little cameo in the show, and boy, he was kind of a drip. Like he was a drip in the show on Entourage, and he's kind of a drip on his actual show, and the reality is like somehow he's nice to somebody. He got that gig and he's held on to it, and amazingly has managed to still hold on to it. But, Maybe Bob thinks that this is the best way to preserve his own career, Bob Iger. I would say that, listen, Jimmy Kimmel should be done. Jimmy Kimmel does not deserve to be in that late night position because no one watches him. Number one, he has 200 producers running around that can't bother to actually find out exactly what the real intel was on the suspected shooter. And he tries to present something as fact when it's entirely fiction because it serves his narrative. According to the Hollywood Reporter, do you know that the real reason why Dana Walden and Bob Iger would not allow him to go back on the air was because he apparently intended to double down on that narrative, a narrative that had already been disproven. And so while I'm all for free speech, like let's have some recognition of the fragility of the country. For one thing, half the country actually loved Charlie Kirk. Half the country voted for Donald Trump. Every night you're piping into everybody's homes and half the country doesn't like what you're talking about. So maybe you ought to work at a network that is designed for half the country as opposed to the network that is designed for everyone. Meanwhile, you've got a boycott underway, and this is, I think, what really started to scare one Bob Iger as he's looking at whether or not he can hang on to his job because we've seen these things before, right? These boycotts, they take on lives of their own. You had Bud Light, you had Target, you have Office Depot because the worker at Office Depot was refusing to so much as print a flyer saying that a community was having a vigil for Charlie Kirk the day after he died. I mean, she said, we're not going to print hate speech. Come on. So people are boycotting Office Depot, they've boycotted Bud Light, and they have boycotted Target. target. So the last thing that Bob Iger wants, right, is a boycott over Disney. And yet we're seeing all this pressure mounting for this boycott to happen. And what's interesting to me is it was coming from both sides, okay? This is not just something that was coming from one side. I can understand the MAGA people being like, okay, we're not going to watch Disney. We're not going to watch ABC. We're not going to take our kids to Disney World. We're not going to go to a Disney movie. But this was actually coming from both sides because the left was like, what are you doing? How could you take off Jimmy? I mean, they were more concerned about Jimmy coming off the air than they ever were about poor Charlie Kirk, 31 years old, father of two, getting shot in front of a crowd, assassinated, taken out in a political assassination. That to me is really troublesome. They are more worked up about Jimmy than anything else. On top of which, you know, the guy has a lousy show. I'm sure that they were psyched to get rid of him anyway because he's coming up on a contract. He's costing them a lot of money. And Jimmy, if he's any good, can come on over here and see if he can give me a run for his money, okay? I'm not a comedian, though, so we're in a different genre. We'll see how he does, right? Again, this actually requires real talent because you guys don't have to be here. This is not appointment TV. In fact, I got to actually set a regular time, right? That would be very helpful. Then we could have appointment streaming, but you're relying on something else entirely. I'm relying on something else entirely, and it's very pure. It's very transparent. It's very organic, and I thank you for that. If you haven't gone to check out my other company, 76 Research, please do that. 76research.com. We actually have a new piece coming out. I will tell you, we were talking a little bit about Oracle. It was one of our greatest picks this year. We told you guys to buy it. If you did, you made a ton of money. And there are some ancillary stocks around it. And we had some pieces in recent days that we published. You get all of them if you sign up for $1, DOLLAR for the first 2 months. It goes to $9.95 thereafter. But I haven't been talking about this a lot, only because out of respect for Charlie, it just didn't feel appropriate. But it's always appropriate for you to remember the importance of investing for yourself and the importance of your own financial independence. And by the way, I was thinking about it today. Charlie would love that because he himself was very, very, very caught up in the importance of the younger generation recognizing that they needed to take care of themselves, that they'd effectively, excuse my French, gotten screwed, right, by the baby boomers and by their parents' generation who had spent so much money. And even if you're a baby boomer, even if you are Generation X and you're watching this, I think you still have the same things that you got to be looking out for yourself. So we have made a lot of really good picks that we're very, very proud of. I encourage you guys to go over to 76research.com, my company I started with a very dear friend, my now colleague over at 76 Research, because we have a lot of very, very good things for you to be looking at. It's $1 a month for the first 2 months. Use code word $. My gift to you goes to $9.95 thereafter. You can cancel anytime. I mean, we'll even for $1, we'll give you your $1 back. There you go. Fox may be buying TikTok. Actually, it seems to be buying TikTok. Donald Trump came out and said, yeah, they're buying TikTok, which has some people a little bit concerned of a sort of MAGA monopoly that's not good for MAGA, because it seems like Fox is just good for Fox, right? Like Fox is MAGA today, but they could be Rhino tomorrow. They're kind of whichever way the wind blows, whichever way it's going to work for them. Let me show you the headline here. Oopsie daisy. What's going on? Can I get this up? Let me see. There. Well, what do you know? Charlotte, by the way, thank you for your generosity. Deborah as well. I want to get to all of your comments. Look, this is Fox trying to figure out what their future is going to be, because Lachlan's in charge, right? Like they decided that whole family dispute. Lachlan is running the show, and Lachlan's going to figure out how to bring his dad's company into the future, which is not easy. Because as we have discussed, the future is not in cable TV. And so it's over here. And so he's looking at TikTok and thinking, okay, it might be over there too. How can I be part of that? And so maybe there's a little pressure campaign. I don't know. But apparently, according to Donald Trump, guess what? Fox is going to be part of this. Don't forget, TikTok was like on its last legs. It basically was going to get banned. ByteDance is the Chinese company that owns it. Even though there's a lot of American investors in ByteDance, it was still very much a sticking point amid security concerns. And I will tell you, I mean, I share those security concerns. So I'm over on TikTok. And I did this in part, well, Charlie kind of inspired me, I'll tell you, because Charlie had this view that we should just be everywhere. Like, who cares? If you want to reach people, you just have to sort of, sometimes suck it up and be on every platform, including a platform controlled by the Chinese. And so anyway, we put a lot of our content out there, and I have something like 330,000 followers over there. But what's amazing is I've twice tried to get approved, twice, for verification status. Where you get that like blue check mark. I always tell you guys, be really, really careful. Don't interact with things that don't have the blue check mark. And I can't get it. And so they ask you to submit all these like articles about yourself, right? And so like I've got 2 from the New York Times and one from People magazine. It's a profile on me. I've got another one from the Financial Times. I tried that. Last time around, I did like Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, New York Times, and another People magazine. I mean, I've got Salon, I've got Business Insider. What do you want, guys? They keep coming back and they're like, we can't verify you because these publications are not prestigious enough. Direct quote, not prestigious enough. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on the New York Times, okay? Should we go for the LA Times? What do you want? Like, right now I'm in a situation where I've got 330,000 people, and then I get all these other accounts that are like stealing my content and posting it as though they're Trish. And how would you know, right? So they're putting their entire community at risk because what? They don't want to verify Trish Regan. Am I that scary? I mean, I did say some things about tariffs, and I have in the past said a few things about China. Now, maybe that's a bit of a sticking issue. I don't know. But this company, maybe it's good that Fox comes in because I can call some friends over there, if I still have any in management, and say, can you help me out? But it's weird. Here is Donald Trump talking with Peter Doocy about the TikTok thing, because he told on the air, he actually said, yeah, the Murdochs are going to have a stake in this. Watch.
I downloaded TikTok for the first time. Would you just help me make my first one really quick?
Sure, go ahead.
It's going to be really quick. It'll be part of the show. Going to just open it up. My most recent, no followers, no posts.
Well, that's not good.
Well, let's see how we do. So, Peter Doocy here in the diplomatic reception room, where it sounds like President Trump is pretty close to saving TikTok. Do I have that right?
And I'm working very hard to do it, and also to save Peter's show.
No.
Oh, man.
That's cute. Yeah, I would say that the fear is on this one that you can't forget that the Murdochs are in this for a business reason, okay? I mean, the difference, between Turning Point, which was nonprofit, and Fox News is one is nonprofit, one's for profit. I get it. And Fox is going to do what's best for Fox. And so do not forget, ladies and gentlemen, what they did to Charlie for 3 years, what they did to the President of the United States, how they reacted after J6. I'm going to get to that in a second, okay? But first, here's the hits, runs, and errors. Rupert Murdoch privately told executives working on the deal for the video sharing app that he wanted to own a small stake in the company if an agreement could be reached, according to a person with direct knowledge of the matter. This person noted that such an investment may not be among the bigger holdings of the new entity. Okay, so he's just going to have a small little part of it, hopefully, until he goes in to buy the whole thing, right? And then it goes on. Rupert Murdoch is named as a defendant in a defamation lawsuit that Trump filed this summer against the Wall Street Journal publisher Dow Jones and parent company News Corp. Don't forget, remember, the Journal published that so-called letter that Donald Trump allegedly signed to one Jeffrey Epstein that was crude, etc., for a birthday album. And Donald Trump's like, I never signed that. What the heck are you doing? And so then he went and sued Dow Jones and the Wall Street Journal. And you've got the Wall Street Journal saying, no, we have full confidence in the accuracy of our reporting, and we're going to defend that. So it's a little bit strange that this is all going down. I would say that you do have some small, it's not small, very big. There we go. What's going on with my computer? Here we go. The consortium of new investors include great firm, Silver Lake. Silver Lake was actually started by a really smart guy named Roger McNamee, who's just been brilliant in terms of tech investing. You also have cloud computing firm, Oracle, Oracle, remember, go to 76 Research. There's more to learn there. Oracle is a great, great company that's just been soaring lately. And so you have Susquehanna and General Atlantic, which actually, and KKR, which are actually already invested in ByteDance. So you will have some Americans there. So why does Murdoch have to get in on this? Like, what is that about? Again, Donald Trump saying we're moving on TikTok. We're going to find a buyer. It's coming out in just a few days, and I guess Fox is going to be one of them.
Sign a deal on TikTok, and
we're moving along. We have great American patriots that are buying it. Very, very substantial people that love our country, and they're very smart technologically, and they will not let anything bad happen to TikTok.
On the 7th seat, sir, will there be an American on that 7th seat on the TikTok board? There's 6 seats for Americans. What nationality will that 7th seat be?
Well, we're going to see. We're going to announce that over the next week.
So he is saying that Fox News is going to be one of the buyers. And again, I would just say, why is that not good for MAGA? I would remind you what happened after J6. I would remind you that as much as they're rah-rah Charlie Kirk right now, and I hate to judge up the past, but look, I mean, they were not exactly Charlie Kirk fans when Charlie Kirk went to Salem Media, which actually sells the advertisements in my show as well. They were not very nice to him, and they actually kept him off the air for like 3 years. And they also didn't like that he was so pro-Trump. It's like they were trying to do everything that they could, and then they suddenly realized they were plunging in the ratings to the point where Newsmax had totally taken them on, and Newsmax was just defeating them in ways that they never thought possible because they were not really in touch with the base. They did not want Donald Trump to win. I remember when I was there and we'd get these edicts, you can't put Trump on the air right now. Yeah, I mean, really, like, we don't want the president on the air right now. He's been on the air too much right now. Or I remember one quite specifically with Mike Pence, because I wanted to go and interview Mike Pence on location and had been invited to do so. And I was told, no, we don't want Mike Pence. This is before the J6 stuff. We don't want Mike Pence on the air. And this was sort of like this blockade. They were trying to like ice him out. And so just know that happens, okay? Like, we're all big boys here. It's just business. That happens. And my concern is if they're controlling so much of the conservative media, whether it be through the Wall Street Journal, which is really negative on Donald Trump, just read the headlines any day, if they're to control or have a controlling share in TikTok, a very popular social media platform, and then on top of that, they own the largest conservative network, do you run certain risks that, if you don't have a Donald Trump, listen, Donald Trump could transcend all of that because he's just bigger than life in terms of his personality, but I'm not saying that everybody who comes along in the future will. So you may be back in a situation where you got to have effectively the ring getting kissed, right? Because maybe you can't actually get elected without the TikTok Murdoch family, without the Fox News Murdoch family, without the Wall Street Journal Murdoch family. And so my question would be, does this need to be looked at from a regulatory standpoint in that you're coming up with some kind of monopoly on conservative media? It's a real concern. I mean, if they buy TikTok and then they got everything else, again, they're talking about just a portion of it right now, they're going to have a very, very big footprint. And let's face it, they don't have the stomach to talk about some of the things that we need to talk about. Case in point, Trish Regan, right? Reminding you all back in March of 2020 that we really shouldn't have been shutting down the entire country, and that what was the left going to do? Exactly what the left did. They politicized everything. Everything. I mean, I knew people on the left that were like, I'm not going to get a vaccine shot if it comes out under Donald Trump. And then, like, when it came out and Biden was in office, they were like, hit me again, hit me again, hit me again. Can I get 3? Can I get 4? Like, suddenly it was like, by the way, those are people I know, but that wasn't just people I know. I mean, you had Nancy Pelosi saying these things. So it was so heavily politicized. I did bring this to everyone's attention, as did Charlie, by the way. I think Hannity did as well, but they said, bye-bye, Trish. Fine. It all worked out for the best. I'm very happy over here. You guys know that. it actually worked out amazingly for the best. So no ill will. It was just business. Fine. But be aware of that, okay? Be aware that they got rid of Tucker Carlson because Tucker Carlson was saying things about J6 that they didn't want to hear and that some people were getting upset about, including one Chuck Schumer, who was calling on Murdoch. And then there was that lawsuit, right, with Dominion, et cetera. So they've had their share of issues. And so my concern is we just need to make sure that we have lots of wealth to go around, okay? I love the independent creation thing. By the way, they're the ones that now sell Tucker Carlson's show. Did you realize that? Because he's got a company. It's not his company, somebody else's company. That's a sales team called Red Seat Ventures. And they are the ones that sell the ads into Tucker's show. And Red Seat Ventures was just bought by Fox. I think they sell Megan's show too, and some of my other friends. Judge Knapp, who used to be at Fox. I mean, it's like mind-blowing. This is so darn incestuous. This is why it's so important to me to stay independent and to build out my own platform here. So thank you for all you guys do. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all of that, because I think it's really important that we remember just exactly what has happened in the past. And they did. They took Charlie off the air for like 3 years. And I know everybody gets amnesia and we all want to move on from those things and don't really want to talk about it, but it happened, okay? And they're going after Trump on a daily basis in the Wall Street Journal in a really negative way, and it's just somewhat telling. Somewhat telling. Speaking of Charlie, the FBI's growing list of suspects keeps extending. Did you see this? We've talked about this. I'm now hearing well more than 20. They're looking into a lot of people. There's just some weird stuff like that I don't even want to have to say. I mean, the furries, okay? You know, say more. Yeah. So this kid who was just atrocious, right? And it's amazing how Erika Kirk forgave him, was in a relationship with his roommate. It is believed that the roommate may have been in another relationship as well. And so that was, that was perhaps something that might have contributed to an unstable mindset. I don't know. That's one of the things that's being looked at. I keep going back to these texts, and it's funny. I said the same thing that, by the way, Bannon's been out there saying, and I said it before Bannon did, just for clarification purposes. I looked at this and I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me. It really, really doesn't make sense. Why is he admitting it this way? Some people have pointed to the grammar, like nobody this young actually uses such wonderful grammar when they're texting. It was almost like it had been done before. I don't know. I mean, this is all conjecture. This is all hearsay, so I want to be cautious and careful and thoughtful on all of it. But what I can tell you, I have spoken to very good sources at the FBI who tell me that roommate is not out of the woods and that they're looking at a whole lot more people. So this Lance Twiggs, let me see if I have a picture of him for you. Yeah, he's not out of the woods. He is still very much a person of interest and well over 20 people. The concern is that there is a broader network here. I will say this, you get a great team there at the FBI with Kash Patel and my friend Dan Bongino, and they are going to not leave any stone unturned. They're all over this, and I have a feeling they'll find out some things that maybe, we didn't even want to find out, but here's the reality of the world these days. I've showed you guys this study. You guys a study that shows how Americans are, unfortunately, those on the left, especially the young ones on the left, somehow tolerant of violence. They're becoming increasingly tolerant. And I think that this is in part because of what they've been spoon-fed by the media and these rabbit holes that they've been going down online. So this was a just shocking study that came out the other day, but again points to the possibility there that there may have been other people involved. And how tragic is that really when you think about it? Just awful, awful stuff. Quick shout out to our sponsor before I get to Erika Kirk and before I get to Donald Trump's comments there at the funeral. Balance of Nature helps bring this show to you for free every day, so we love them for that. We also love their product because, when you turn the label over to the backside, you can actually understand what's written there. How rare is that, right? In a supplement, take a look at it. The fruits and veggies, all the fruits and veggies are actually fruits and veggies. They freeze dry them. You get 31 ingredients and you know exactly what the ingredients are. So I encourage you to go and look at this. You get 35% off with my discount. Use code TRISH, TRISH today. Lots of testimonials on the website. Balance of Nature, just great stuff. They've been in business for a good long time. So like I said, you can read all the testimonials, not just hear mine, but it's nice to know what is actually in your ingredients, especially these days as we look at what's happening there with the Maha movement, right? It was a tough weekend, really tough weekend. I don't know how much of the coverage you saw, but Charlie Kirk's funeral was an important and very touching moment. It is a turning point for the nation. I think there are so many people that had never heard of Charlie before, and now they're seeking him out, and they're going back and they're looking at his old videos, and they're like, wow, this guy makes sense. Look at him. He makes total sense. And they're like, how is it? How is it that, that I'd never heard of him before? Or how is it that the left could present him in such a way that was so manipulated, right? I played a short the other day, and I actually want to pull it up for you because I think a lot of people are coming to some realization that, in fact, he was out there trying to do lots and lots and lots of good, and yet he was constantly tarred and feathered for that. And that's not right, and that's never where we should be, because as a society, I really think we need to praise this speech. Here's a guy talking on TikTok about Charlie's legacy and how Charlie was able to expose the libs. Let's watch this together. Okay, we're trying again. It's amazing how Charlie has become just bigger than life. His persona has started to captivate people who had never heard of him before. Watch.
Let me just clarify. Y'all made me obsessed with Charlie Kirk. This came out of the blue for me. I never cared for bro content like that. Nothing against what he said. I was just never interested in clicking his videos to see what he had to say. But y'all made me deep dive and go down this rabbit hole because there was no possible way that y'all seen the same video I saw and half the world rejoiced it. And I'm just sitting here like, there's no way. Now I started looking into stuff and I'm like, dang, so you felt like this. Your hate and evilness has been revealed within you. But what you said, the way he said is cap. That's not even what he said. That's not even in the full context. So now I'm just starting to, oh, that was a lie. Oh, that was a lie. Wow. So... So now I don't know. I'm deep in it now.
The libs are being exposed. Yeah. Right? They're being exposed, and more people are coming to Charlie. I look at his YouTube channel and it's grown by like 2 million subs in the last week. I look at his Instagram that might have been like 1.7 million and now is well over 12 million. It's just incredible. People are finding him, and this is going to keep happening. And I'm going to tell you something. This Erika Kirk, whom he married, is a wonderful woman. And you know what? I'll tell you, anybody who has it in their heart to forgive after what she's been through, she gets a lot of points in my book. Watch.
Young man. On the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
Yeah. She's pretty amazing, right? She's pretty amazing. I'll tell you, these were two people totally in love. Donald Trump had something different to say. We're going to get to that in a second. It's just him being him. He's like, listen, you can forgive all you want. I'm not forgiving anyone. I'm not forgiving my enemies. Here, I want to show you a flashback to Erika Kirk going on her husband's show. You can just see, like, these are two people so in love, and it's so much a shame. It's surreal to me. I still, like, it hasn't totally fully sunk in, but I will say this, his legacy is going to continue on in a massive way, and it's in part a big part thanks to her, but a big part thanks to all of you guys and every little bit that I can do and you can do and everyone else can do to make sure that his legacy is well remembered so that we can have these conversations, right? Erika and Charlie in love. Two people in love. You can tell by the way they look at each other.
My wife joins us, Erika Kirk,
Hi,
the beautiful,
everyone.
legendary Erika.
I love you so much.
I love you.
You're my best friend.
Welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. We have asked the audience for questions. You pick one.
Who is more conservative and why?
Erika.
Yes.
By far. Not even close. I am a moderate compared to Erika.
Andrew always jokes that once you got married to me, you got more based.
That's true. That is true. No, Erika is very conservative. Do you think having kids made you more conservative?
100%. Which I didn't think was possible. But 100%. Absolutely.
And
a better wife.
Mm-hmm.
Erika Kirk has just been officially named the CEO of Turning Point USA, taking over for her wonderful husband. She's great. She's going to be a big role model and inspiration for a lot of young women everywhere. So my hat goes off to you, Erika Kirk, and I wish you all the very best, and know that I'm here, we're here, and we're going to do everything we can to help you along the way. I would say this, Donald Trump struck a slightly different tone at Charlie Kirk's funeral. He admits it, and this is one of the things we love about him, because, he's not pretending. He's not trying to be anything he's not. He recognizes that he's a human being with all his flaws and all his faults, and it is what it is, folks. It is what it is. Here, watch him.
Missionary with a noble spirit and a great, great purpose. He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erika. But now Erika can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent. Charlie's angry. Looking down, he's angry at me now.
Oh, not that angry. Listen, it's a tough time in this country right now. Charlie Kirk didn't deserve what happened to him. No one deserves that. I don't know if you caught the news over the weekend, but Van Jones, who's a popular Democrat columnist and contributor over on CNN, said that one of the last messages he received from Charlie was a request to have a conversation. He invited Van Jones on his show because he said, let's have a respectful debate, a respectful conversation. You may not agree with me, I don't agree with you, but let's have that. And Van Jones debated about whether or not he should release this information. He decided to go forward with it because in the spirit of, yes, let's have a dialogue together that is respectful of one another. That's so critical, and that's what's so missing right now. It's sad. There was a story in the New York Times over the weekend about how Erika and her husband, Charlie, sat down with a spiritual leader the night before he left for Utah. And one of the things that came up was the question of whether or not he should be wearing a bulletproof vest. She wanted him to be wearing that. And the spiritual leader was talking about also the importance of having some bulletproof glass around him when he spoke. So he knew this was serious. he knew it was getting dangerous. I mean, he told me back in 2018 on the air, I played this clip for you guys last week, after Antifa had surrounded him coming out of a breakfast in Philadelphia, 50 people, he knew it was getting dangerous. I mean, that was 2018. And he was warning against this, and he continued to get threats to the point where he said to this pastor and to his wife, he said, listen, I understand at some point this may be necessary, but not yet. Not yet. He still wanted to be accessible to everyone. And that left enormous vulnerability. Sure, he had security, but unfortunately there were no drones overhead. And this really awful person did a really awful thing. And you got to ask yourself, why would somebody do such a thing? What's happened to our society? I showed you the study from YouGov. Why are people on the left, especially the young ones, becoming so willing to tolerate violence? Ask yourself that. Because we can't live in a society like that. It's not right. It's wrong. I've cried a lot. I'm not going to cry again for you because my kids are like, Mom, there goes Mom again, crying. My daughter sent me something, another tribute to Charlie this morning, and of course I'm crying again. Cried when I took him to school the other day. I have had a hard time with this. Full disclosure, very, very hard time with this because I feel not just the loss of somebody I knew, not just the loss I feel for his family, for his children, for his wife, but I feel a loss for our country. I feel a loss for our young people, for the millions of young people that looked to Charlie for guidance. But I am going to tell you this, and I think Erika would agree. He has ignited something in all of us, an awakening, a revival, as she calls it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will be his legacy. Let's listen to Erika talking about that very issue and how, wow, for the first time in a long time, people are saying, I got to get to church on Sunday. I'm going to go and read the Bible. I'm going to try and understand the Constitution. I am going to try and listen to the person that disagrees with me. Watch.
Most of all, God's mercy and God's love have been revealed to me these past 10 days. After Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence. We didn't see rioting. We didn't see revolution. Instead, we saw what my husband always prayed he would see in this country. We saw revival.
Revival. We see people coming back to the center, maybe going to the right, that never would have thought to do so before. We see people coming out to speak in Charlie's honor that were afraid to speak before. We see a commitment to a respectful dialogue that is so necessary at this point in time. And I love our country for that. God bless Charlie Kirk. God bless Erika Kirk and her family. And God bless America. I love you all. Thank you for what you do. We'll be back here live again with you tomorrow.